Our next story takes us to the Caribbean, to a scene straight out of a military playbook. The US has seized a large oil tanker right off the coast of Venezuela, and the way it happened has stunned the region. Before we get into the details, listen to what US President Donald Trump has said.
As you probably know, we've just seized a tanker on the coast of Venezuela, large tanker, very large. Largest one ever seized, actually.
So what is this tanker and why did the US move in? Let's break it down for you. The ship is called the Skipper. It is not a Venezuelan ship. It is a foreign vessel. Reports say it is owned by a company in Nigeria. It was sailing under a flag that was fake, but it was carrying Venezuelan oil. How much? Almost 2 million barrels of heavy crude. And that is a huge load. Now, to give you some context, heavy crude is thick and slow to move. To carry it, you need a supertanker. It is a giant ship built for massive ocean transport, and the Skipper is one such ship. This is the ship that the US went after. The helicopters took off from the USS Gerald Ford. It's the world's largest aircraft carrier, the Gerald Ford, and it has been in the region as part of Washington's military buildup. The helicopters flew towards the tanker, they hovered right above it, and then troops came down on ropes. They landed on the deck, and within minutes, they took control of the ship. And why was the ship targeted? US Attorney General Pam Bondi explained the reasons. She said the tanker had been sanctioned for years. It was part of an illicit shipping network, one that moved sanctioned oil from Venezuela and Iran, and that supported foreign terrorist organizations. So in Washington's eyes, this seizure was justified. But that still leaves one big question. What happens to the tanker and its cargo now? Reporters put that question directly to US President Trump, and this is what he said.
We're interested in the seizure of this tanker. What happens to the oil on this ship?
Well, we keep it, I guess.
Where does it go? What port does it go to?
Well, you have to follow the tanker. You know, you're a good newsman. Just follow the tanker.
Do you know where it was going? Was it going
follow
to
it.
China?
Get a helicopter and follow the tanker.
Is it true it's going to
But
Cuba?
we're going to, I assume we're going to keep the oil.
This answer has raised even more questions because this was not a small cargo. Reports say about half the oil on board was heading to Cuba. The rest belonged to Venezuela. And oil is Venezuela's main source of money. It is their biggest export and an economic lifeline. So losing a shipment this large is a big blow for Caracas. Here's how it's responding to the seizure. Venezuela has called it a blatant theft and an act of international piracy. Those are the words they use. Venezuela says this is part of a long-running US campaign, a campaign to go after Venezuela's oil. It also said it would denounce this incident before international bodies. Cuba has backed Venezuela's condemnation. Its president called the seizure, and I'm quoting, a violation of international law and an escalation of aggression. So the outrage is only building. But what looks like one seizure is actually part of a much larger picture, a picture that involves US warships, surveillance flights, and a steady military buildup in the Caribbean. Like I said, Washington has been expanding its presence in these waters. Since the month of September, the US has conducted several strikes in the region. It has attacked boats and accused them of trafficking drugs. And look at the toll. More than 80 people have been killed so far, 80 people. The campaign is part of a US plan to pressure Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro. Washington has accused his government of narco-terrorism. Maduro, of course, has denied it. He says this is not about drugs or security at all. This is a tactic to oust his regime.
We say no to interventionism, no to plans for destabilization and regime change. The U.S. government should focus on governing its own country.
So this is not about one oil tanker or a few so-called drug boats. This is about power, oil, military force in the Caribbean, and how far the US is willing to go to dethrone Maduro in Venezuela.
I was born into revolution. I inherited power like a crown. What I delivered was isolation. I built a personality cult that touched every home. Millions suffered hunger under my rule, but no one dared to speak. I ruled from palaces. My people queued for rice. I called myself the dear leader. History calls me something else, the dictator. Who am I?